But now I hear you asking my clients about the disappearance of Joshlin, not
No.
clarifying the discrepancies in the statement.
Nou hoor ek u vra my kliënt rondom Joshlin se verdwyning.
Correct, eerlijk?
Correct, my lord.
Did you ask my client to clarify the discrepancies which you said Mr. Lombard has explained to you?
Het u vir my kliënt gevra klarigheid oor hierdie onreëlmatighede wat kaptein Lombard aan u oorgedra het?
Eerlijk, al wat ik van genoem het is dat jullie verklaring stem niet saam nie.
My lord, all I told him is that the statements are contradictory or there's differences in their statements.
Mijn main focus was al even om te horen waar of wat met Joshlin gebeur het eerlijk.
However, my main focus was to know as to what had happened to Joshlin as well as Joshlin's whereabouts, my lord.
Did you ask my client to point? No, let me rephrase this question. Did you ask my client what was his point of view on the alleged discrepancies?
Het u van my kliënt se opinie verneem rondom hierdie onreëlmatighede? Het u vir hom gevra wat is sy gevoel aangaande hierdie onreëlmatighede?
Is ook gesê het eerlijk, ik heb hem net gesê dat daar verschillen is tussen hulle verklarings.
All I say to you, my lord, is that there are differences in their statements, my lord.
En wat hulle drie praat is nie dieselfde storie nie eerlijk.
And what the three of them are saying is not the same version of events, my lord.
Why you didn't ask him his point of view?
Ook al verneem u nie van sy opinie nie,
Eerlijk, soos ek sê,
My
op
lord.
daardie stadium
my lord, as I said, at that stage,
was my doelwit om 'n 6-jarige meisiekind op te spoor en dis ek om hom gevra het oor Joshlin se verdwyning eerlik.
my goal was to locate the missing little girl. Hence, I repeatedly asked him as to Joshlin's whereabouts, my lord.
So you confronted my client about Joshlin's disappearance, deviating from the initial purpose and goal of the interview.
U wyk af van die aanvanklike doelwit van hierdie onderhoud. U vra liewer vir hom oor Joshlin se verdwyning en wyk af van die onderhoud se oogmerk.
Eerlik soos ek sê, het ek hom genoem dat daar verskille is.
My lord, as I say that I informed him that there were differences.
My primêre doel was om inligting kry oor wat met Joshlin gebeur het hier.
My primary goal was to ascertain as to Joshlin's whereabouts, my lord.
Did you see those discrepancies?
Het u daardie onreëlmatighede ontdek?
Ek was ingelig deur kaptein Lombard eerlik.
Captain Lombard informed me, my lord.
If I listened to the discrepancies
When I listened to these discrepancies, wanneer ek na die onreëlmatighede luister,
on record while Mr. Lombard was testifying,
op rekord terwyl Captain Lombard getuig het,
the nature of those discrepancies,
die aard van daardie onreëlmatighede,
those are timeline discrepancies.
dit is tydslyn gewys, daardie onreëlmatighede is tydslyn gewys.
Would you agree with me?
Stem jy saam met my?
Tydlyn is een van dit eerlik.
Timeline is one of those, my lord.
Would you agree with me, yes or no?
Stem jy saam met my? Ja of
Let's answer
nee?
the question.
What was the answer, my lord?
The timeline is one of those. Timeline is one of those discrepancies.
Thank you. Are you aware
Is jy daarvan bewus
that the state has a duty?
dat dit is die staat se plig
The duty to prove the elements of kidnapping
dit is die staat se plig om dan die elemente
and
van ontvoering
trafficking against my client beyond reasonable doubt. Are you aware of that principle?
mensenhandel beyond ontvoering, mensenhandel, dit is die staat se plig om dit te bewys. Sonder twyfel om dit te bewys.
Ek is
Voor redelike twyfel moet die staat bewys.
How then timeline discrepancies, how are they going to help the state case? Timeline discrepancies.
Nou die tydslyn, onreëlmatighede, hoe is dit veronderstel om die staat behulpsaam te wees?
Eerder, dis 'n ongoing investigation.
My lord, it is an ongoing investigation. Eerder dit se sang.
Verskille in die tydlyn
The differences in the timeline
kan lei tot verdere bewyse of evidence.
can lead to further evidence and exhibits.
Now,
Now,
we are 13 months from the 19th of February 2024.
ons is 13 maande vanaf die 9de Februarie 2024.
At your disposal as the sergeant, do you have evidence that prove elements of trafficking and kidnapping against my client?
Op
As you sit there,
die beskikking soos wat hier sit, beskik u oor elemente van
Evidence.
het
You have evidence.
ja, het die getuienis tot die beskik wat dan nou hierdie ontvoering en mensenhandel
Eerder, ek is nie
bewys.
die ondersoekbeampte op die saak nie.
My lord, I'm not the investigating officer in this matter.
Ek getuig oor wat op die 4de en 5de gebeur het eerder.
I'm testifying as to the events of the 4th and the 5th.
is that all?
Is dat al? Is dat aan?
Ja,
Volstaan u daarbij?
Okay. Thank you.
Dank u.
Together, let us now go to sea border offices.
Tesamen, kom ons beweeg aan na die borderkantore toe.
My client instructs me that
My cliënt sê vir my,
it was a matter of few seconds. He was at the sea border offices. You appeared.
dit was 'n mate van paar sekonde toe maak jy opwagting.
Eerder, soos ek sê, ek weet nie wanneer beskuldigde tweede aangekom het nie.
My lord, as I said, I do not know as to what time did that accused arrive there.
Maar toe ek daar kom, toe was hy reeds in die boardroom gewees.
However, upon my arrival there, he was already in the boardroom, my lord.
I appreciate your answer.
Ek waardeer u antwoord.
You, on your part, you didn't know, but him. He
He.
saw you when you were coming. It was hardly few seconds. He arrived at the sea border offices. Then you arrived.
U weet nie daarvan nie, maar ek verwys na hom. Volgens hom, dit was skaars paar sekondes tot daag u dat op.
Weereens eerder, ek weet nie wanneer beskuldigde daar by seebode gekom het nie.
Once again, my lord, I do not know what time, when did the accused arrived at the sea border, my lord.
Did you ask him?
Het jy vir hom gevra?
Nee, eerlik.
No, my lord.
Now you were going to interview him.
Nou, u maak reg om onderhoud met hom te voer.
Did you make the environment comfortable for this interview?
Het u die omgewing maklik gemaak vir hierdie onderhoude? Het die omgewing
Comfortable for him.
Het die vertrek vir hom gemaklik gemaak vir hom?
Eerlik, toe ek hom eerste gesien het,
My lord, when I saw him for the first time,
het hy op 'n stoel gesit.
he was seated on the chair.
Daar was geen aanduiding dat hy ongemaklik was nie, eerlik.
There was no indication that he was uncomfortable whatsoever, my lord.
I'm not asking you that part.
Dit is my vraag nie.
You told this court that
U het vir die hof gesê,
you interviewed my client.
u het 'n onderhoud met my kliënt gevoer.
My question to you,
My vraag aan u,
when you were interviewing him,
tydens hierdie onderhoud met hom,
did you make the environment comfortable for him?
het u die vertrek gemaklik gemaak vir hom of gerieflik gemaak vir hom?
Eerlik, hy het op 'n stoel gesit agter 'n tafel.
My lord, he was seated on a chair behind the table, my lord.
En ek glo hy was gemaklik geweest want daar was geen indikasie dat hy ongemaklik was nie.
And I believe he was comfortable because there was no indication that showed otherwise.
It is your evidence that you believe. That means you don't know, you believe.
Is dit die getuienis dat u glo? U weet nie, u glo is dit u getuienis?
Eerlik, as die beskuldigde nou gemaklik is soos hy daar sit,
My lord,
dan was hy gemaklik om geïnterview te eerlik.
my lord, if the accused is comfortable seated there, right there where he seated now, then he must have been comfortable then, my lord. During the interview, my lord.
My client instructs me
My cliënt sê vir my,
immediately after his arrival at Sea Border offices,
kort na sy opdaging by Seaborder kantore,
you arrived.
daag u daar op.
Weereens eerlik, ek kan nie kommentaar lewer oor wanneer die beskuldigde daar gebring is nie eerlik.
Once again, my lord, I cannot comment as to when did the accused arrive there, my lord, or was brought there, my lord.
Ek weet wanneer ek daar gekom het eerlik.
I know when I arrived there, my lord.
I don't want you to comment on this. I'm just putting you a statement.
Ek verwag geen kommentaar op hierdie.
I'll go to put a
Stelling.
question to you after this.
Ek verwag geen kommentaar op hierdie stelling nie. Ek maak dis blote stelling aan u.
Verstaan eerlik?
Yes, my lord.
I will indicate now this is the question.
Ek sal by u aanbei wanneer dit wel die vraag is.
It was hardly a second.
Dit was skaars sekondes.
You arrived at Sea Border offices.
Toe daag u by Seaborder kantore.
At that time, he was in the company of 2 police officers.
Op daardie stadium was hy in die geselskap van 2 beamptes.
These police officers
Hierdie polisiebeamptes
gave him lift at about 2 or 2:30 when he was coming from Vredenburg to Saldanha.
Hulle het vir hom 'n rygeleentheid gegee terwyl hy gery loop het vanaf Vredenburg Saldanha toe.
He thought at that time
Op daardie stadium het hy onder indruk verkeer
those were good Samaritans who were giving him lift.
dat daar individu's was goeie Samaritane
No.
wat vir hom 'n rygeleentheid aangebied het,
Not knowing that later
onbewus daarvan dat later
these occupants of this van
hierdie bakkie se insittendes
will subject him to severe torture.
sal vir hom aan 'n erge marteling onderwerp.
Now, this is the question.
Nou is die volgende is 'n vraag.
When you saw my client at Sea Border, at the time you saw him,
to
were you
immigrate-
told
to immigrate.
that is coming from Jacobs Bay Beach where he was severely tortured?
Toe u my kliënt gesien by Seaborder, is u ingelig dat hy kom vanaf Jacobsbaai waar hy wreedadig gemartel is?
Eerlik,
My lord,
soos ek telke male getuig het,
is already testified several times.
Ek weet nie wie die beskuldigde ingebring het nie,
I do not know who brought the accused in,
hoe laat hulle hom ingebring het nie,
what time did they bring him in,
en waar hulle hom gekry het nie eerlik.
waarom,
Waar hulle hom gekry het nie.
and where did they find him.
My question specifically was about the severe torture.
My-
Were you aware that before he was brought at sea border offices, he was severely tortured at Jacobs Bay Beach? That is my question to you.
Susan, my vraag aan u is, in bijzonder, was u bewust gemaakt dat al voor u in raking gekomen met hom, was hij erg de Jacobsbaai gemartel geweest? Dat is mijn vraag aan u, Susan.
Ek het geen kennis van so marteling nie eerlik.
I bear no knowledge of such torture, my lord.
He further instructs me that
Verder sê hy vir my,
on your arrival,
by u aankomst daar,
he was handcuffed.
was hy gehandboei geweest?
Nie korrek nie eerlik.
Incorrect, my lord.
Are you suggesting that he was not handcuffed?
Suggereer u dat hy was nie gehandboei nie?
Ek suggest nie eerlik te sien hy was nie gehandcuff nie.
I'm not suggesting, my lord. I saw that he was not handcuffed, my lord.
How did you see this?
Hoe het u dit opgemerk?
You said he was seated in the corner. How did you see that he was not handcuffed?
Is dit die getuienis dat dit vir hom gesien daar in 'n hoek sit? Hoe het jy gesien? Hoe het jy opgemerk dat hy sy gehandboei nie?
Ek het nooit gesê het in 'n hoek gesit nie eerlik.
That's not my evidence that he was seated there in one corner. It's not my evidence.
It's not your evidence. How did you see? That is the question now. How did you see
Dit is die
that he
getuienis
was
nie, hoe het jy
handcuffed?
opgemerk dat hy sy gehandboei nie?
Eerlik het op 'n stoel gesit agter 'n tafel met sy hande op die tafel.
My lord, he was seated on the chair behind the table with his hands on the table, my lord.
How far were you from this table?
Hoe ver van u af? Hoe ver het jy gesit van u af?
Van hier af tot daar by u.
From where I'm seated to where you standing?
About 6 meters, I'm estimating.
6 meter skatting.
Dis ook die eerste keer gesien het my ek het nader beweeg aan hom eerlik.
That is when I saw him for the first time, but later on I moved closer to him.
Because now you are worried, I'm going to ask you, how did you notice in a distance of 60 meters? Now we are fast, we are changing.
Hier is op 'n kommer nou wat ek voorsien dat ek maak reg om vir u te vra, hoe is dit moontlik dat u dit so waar gaan neem met sittende in daardie posisie? Nou al op die vooruit.
I was once a policewoman.
In die verlede was ek 'n polisievrou ook gewees.
Eerlik dink jy die beskuldigde is meer as 6 meter en ek sal nie vanaf kan sien of hy gaan mooi om met eerlik.
You do not think so?
Eerlik, ek dink die beskuldigde is nou meer as 6 meter van my af. Miskien 10 meter en ek sal nie vanaf kan sien of hy gaan mooi om met eerlik.
My lord, I think that you sit not 10 meters away from me now, and I will still be able to see if he's got handcuffs or not, my lord.
Okay,
Goed.
can you give this court the
Herhaal
type?
asseblief.
Can you give this court the type of clothing he was wearing?
Gee asseblief vir die hof, dui asseblief aan die hof die klere, tipe klere wat hy aangehad het die dag.
Soos ek gesê het met beskuldigde nommer 1 ook eerlik, kan nie onthou wat die klere dra gelang gehad het eerlik.
Like I said, as in number 1, my lord, I do not recall what was he wearing, my lord. What clothing was he wearing?
Was he wearing a jacket, a
Het hy 'n baadjie
coat,
aangehad?
a shirt?
Hemp?
Eerlik, ek weet self wat ek daai dag gehad het eerlik.
My lord, I personally, I myself can no longer recall as to what I was wearing the day in question, my lord.
Your eyesight is very selective, Sergeant.
Susan, is is baie selectief, Susan.
You can see the handcuffs, but you cannot see what the person with handcuffs is wearing.
Ek kan die handboeie sien, maar ek kan nie sien dat die persoon 'n handboeie aan het.
Eerder iets soos handboeie sal my aandag trek.
My lord, an item is handcuffs will draw my attention.
Dit sal 10-1 beteken dat die persoon gearresteer is.
I probably will be indication that this person is under arrest, my lord. Most probably.
Waar klere nie so my aandag sal trek nie eerder.
Whereas clothing would not attract my attention as such, my lord.
Behalwe as ek vir iemand soek met spesifieke klere aan eerder.
Unless I'm on the lookout for an individual with specific clothing, my lord.
Sergeant,
Sergeant,
my client
my client,
instructs me.
sê vir my,
You took him from boardroom
iets van uit die raadsaal uit,
to the other office.
na die ander kantoor toe geneem.
Eerder, dis korrek. Ek was by gewees toe ons hom omgevat het eerder.
My lord, that is correct. I was present when we took him around, my lord.
I didn't ask your presence.
Ek
My
vra nie,
the question I put to you is,
ek vra nie oor u teenwoordigheid. My vraag aan u is volgende.
my instructions are that you personally
Die beskryf het sê vir my, u persoonlik,
came and took my client to the other office.
u is die persoon wat daar gekom het en vir hom na die ander kantoor toe begelei het.
Eerder, soos ek sê, ek was nie alleen gewees nie. Ons het
Edele-
almal vir hom omgevat. Ek het nie alleen met hom beweeg nie.
U edele, soos dat al reeds getuig het, ek was nie alleen nie, het was ons het vir hom omgeneem.
But you were with.
No, yes, but I was present. I was a part, yeah, I was a form part of the group. Yes, I was with.
I'm not yet within the group.
Op hierdie stadium is ek nog nie by die groep nie.
This is before you took him to the group.
Dit is voor u vir hom na die groep toe geneem het.
You came
U
alone
het alleen gekom
to the boardroom.
na die raadsaal toe.
You told him to follow you, or you called him.
U het vir hom gevra om u te volg of u het vir hom geroep.
You showed him the office he must enter in.
U het aan hom die kantoor wat hy moet ingaan uitgewys.
Eerder,
My lord,
na ek opdrag gekry het van kaptein Lombard dat hulle geskei moet word,
the instruction by Captain Lombard is that they would be separated.
het ek boardroom toe gegaan.
I proceeded to the boardroom.
Ek het vir die ander lede gesê dat ons moet vir hulle skei
I told the other members that we need to separate them.
en ons gaan van beskuldigde 2 na die ander vertrek toe, ander se kantoor toe vat.
And then we're taking accused number 2 to another office.
Ek het nie alleen met hom beweeg nie eerder.
I did not walk alone with him, my lord.
My client instructs me
My
that
cliënt sê vir my,
before you came to
voor
fetch
die
him,
jaar gekom het,
you went inside. He doesn't know where you went to, with the police officers who were assaulting him
Ik
at
ben er
Jacobs
toe-
Bay Beach.
het binne toe gegaan, hy weet nie waar naartoe, met die ander beamptes, met die beamptes wat vir hom gemartel het. What's the last part?
With the two police officers
With the two,
who severely tortured him at Jacobs Bay Beach.
met die twee beamptes wat vir hom erg die Jacobsbaai gemartel het.
Do you remember this scenario?
Onthou u hierdie scenario?
Ek verstaan hom nie mooi nie. Ek vir hom kantoor toe gevat met die 2 beamptes wat hom gemartel het.
I do not understand. Did I take him to an office together with the police officers who tortured him?
No.
Nee.
When you arrived for the first time at the boardroom,
Toe u by die raadsaal vir die heel eerste keer aankom,
he was with these two police officers that tortured him.
hy was in die geselskap van hierdie 2 polisiebeamptes wat vir hom gemartel het.
From the bedroom, you went away with these two police officers,
Vanuit die raadsaal beweeg hy uit met
But-
hierdie 2 beamptes,
but you came back alone
maar het egter alleen teruggekeer.
and you fetched him to this office.
Toe neem u vir hom na hierdie kantoor toe.
Die edele,
My Lord,
die eerste keer toe ek by die raadsaal inkom en vir hom sien, die edele,
the first time I entered the boardroom and I saw him, my Lord,
soos ek vroeër getuig het, het ek uitgegaan weer
as in my testimony earlier on, and I testify again,
en toilet toe gaan.
I went to the toilet.
Toe ek terugkom van die toilet af,
Upon my return from the toilet,
was daar maar amptes, maar kaptein Lombard was daar en dan beskuldigde nommer 1 was ook daar.
there were officers there, Captain Lombard was there, and the accused was there. Accused one was there. Yeah, thank you.
Hy is ook nie dadelik geskuif na die ander kantoor toe nie, edele.
He was not immediately shifted to another office, my Lord.
Hy is baie later geskuif na 'n ander kantoor toe, edele.
Only later he was removed to another office, my Lord.
My client's instructions are that
My cliënt se instructies is soos volg.
you are misleading the court.
Hy mislei hierdie agbare hof.
He stayed in the boardroom for few seconds.
Hy het vir 'n paar sekondes by die raadsaal gebly.
He spent most of his time under this interview in a nutshell in the office where you took him to.
En die metedop het hy die meeste van sy tyd en hierdie kantoor waar hy vir hom geneem het, deurgebring.
Onmoontlik as hy by was, die edele.
Impossible if he was in my company, my Lord.
You took him to this office.
Het vir hom na hierdie kantoor toe geneem.
There was a chair.
Daar was 'n stoel.
He was instructed how to sit
Hy is beopdrag
on this chair.
hoe om op hierdie stoel te sit.
Die edele, soos ek sê,
My Lord, as I said,
die beskuldigde is baie later omgevat na die ander kantoor toe, edele.
the accused was taken much later to another office, my Lord.
Daar was ek gewees en nog lede wat saam met my gewees het.
It was myself as well as additional members that were with me, my Lord.
In daardie kantoor het hy reg oor my op 'n stoel gesit, die edele.
And in that office, he sat right opposite me on the chair, my Lord.
So ek sou kon sien as hy ongemaklik gesit het, die edele.
Therefore, I would have noticed in case he was uncomfortable, my Lord.
En ek het niemand gehoor instruksie gee van hoe hy moet sit nie, edele.
And I did not hear anyone giving instructions as to how he should sit, my Lord.
He was instructed to sit halfway on the chair, not to put his back at the back of the chair.
Hy is beopdrag om deels op die stoel te sit en nie sy reg op die regleuning te rus nie,
Die edele,
my Lord.
daar was geen instruksie gewees wat gegee was aan die beskuldigde oor hoe hy moet sit nie, edele.
No instructions were ever given to the accused as to how he should sit, my Lord.
And at that time,
En op daardie stadium
he was handcuffed.
was hy in handboeie gewees.
Edele, weer eens,
My Lord, once again,
die beskuldigde het nie aan boeie omgehad nie, edele.
the accused was not handcuffed, my Lord.
He was further instructed
Hy is verder beopdrag
to stand still.
om stil te staan,
No, to sit still in a form of a statue.
om net soos wat 'n standbeeld
You sit like you
Self-stand.
don't have emotions, don't have feelings.
geen gevoelens toon nie, sit net daar soos wat 'n standbeeld is. Dis hy die opdrag om soos 'n standbeeld.
Die edele, weer eens, daar was geen sulke opdragte met die woord gegee aan die beskuldigde nie, edele.
Once again, my Lord, no such instructions were given to me, my Lord, whilst I was present.
Dat het ook nooit my voorgekom of hy nog op 'n ongemaklike posisie is,
Neither,
edele.
neither did it appear to me as though he was uncomfortable, my Lord, while seated on a chair.
You were present in this office.
Is teenwoordig in die kantoor se sand.
Ek was daar toe wat ek so onderhoud gevoer het met hom, edele.
I was there, my Lord, when we conducted the interview with him, my Lord.
When he arrived in this office,
Toe hy by hierdie kantoor aankom,
there were about 6 to 7 police officers, inclusive of the two that tortured
daar
him.
was ongeveer 7 polisiebeamptes daar, insluitende die 2 wat vir hom gemartel het.
Edele, soos ek verduidelik het, nee.
My Lord, as I explained,
In die kantoor gedurende die interview met beskuldigde 2,
during during the interview in that office, my lord, or in that office during the interview, my lord?
Was een van my kollegas gewees en twee van City of Cape Town Law Enforcement.
One of among the people that were there was one of my colleagues,
Ek
as
sou-
well as two City of Cape Town Kaapstad se wet toepassers, my lord.
Ek sou daar wees in die kantoor eerlik.
I would have been present there in the office, my lord.
Kaptein Lombard het van tyd tot tyd gekom eerlik.
Captain Lombard, it took, after a while, arrived, my lord.
En daar was ook crime intelligence officers wat tussen die kantore beweeg het ook
Daar
eerlik.
was ook misdaadintelligensie beamptes, my lord, wat ook tussen die kantore beweeg het, my lord.
Maar van enige tot sodra ek nie kennis nie eerlik.
Crime intelligence officers who move between the offices, my lord. I'm not aware of any torture, my lord.
He was assaulted
Hij was aangerand,
over his body.
oral op zijn lichaam.
He was asked during the assault, where is Joshlin?
Tijdens
What
hierdie-
have you done with Joshlin?
Hij wordt tijdens die aanranding wordt hij toch gevraagd wat het van Joshlin geword. Waar is Joshlin? Wat hij aan haar gaat doen?
Eerlik,
My lord,
ek het reeds my overduidelik dat ek ook gevra het wat het met Joshlin gebeur,
I already told the court, I asked him what had happened to Joshlin.
maar die beskuldigde was nie aangeraak gewees nie eerlik.
But however, the accused was not assaulted, my lord.
There were police standing on his left side, police standing on his right side.
Weerskante van homself was daar beamptes wat gestaan het. Weerskante van hom staan daar politiebeamptes.
They were all assaulting him.
Hulle
Others
almal.
clapping him on his face, others hitting him on his body.
Hulle almal het vir hom aangerand, hulle hom geklap.
Eerlik aan my vestig, dit het nie gebeur nie eerlik.
My lord, I can confirmingly say it did not happen, my lord.
From these blows, there's one blow that stood out.
Van hierdie houe is daar uitstaande ene,
He instructs
of
me
iemand
that
uitgestaan het.
he instructs me that there was a white lady that was seated, or that was standing at the back of the chair.
Hy sê vir my dat 'n wit dame agter hom gestaan agter die stoel.
She hit him with something he can't even explain,
Sit vir hom met 'n onbeskryflike voorwerp
because after that blow,
geslaan,
he became dizzy.
want hy sê na daardie hou het hy duiselig geword.
Your comment?
Wat is die kommentaar daarop?
Ek het nie mooi gehoor het gesê 'n vroumens nie.
'n dame, 'n blanke dame het reg agter hom gestaan op die stoel en vir hom met 'n onbeskryflike voorwerp geslaan en na daardie hou deur daardie voorwerp het hy duiselig geword.
Ek eerlik daar geen aanranding in my teenwoordigheid plaasgevind nie.
My lord, no such assault
You
took
were-
place in my presence, my lord.
You were present, and Mr. Lombard came in
Hy was teenwoordig en meneer Lombard het ingekom
and went out
en weer uitbeweeg
during the assault.
tydens hierdie aanranding.
Onwaar eerlik.
Not true, my lord.
After this blow from this white woman who was standing at the back of the chair,
Na hierdie hou in die hande van hierdie wit vrou wat agter die stoel gestaan het,
he felt dizzy.
het hy duiselig gevoel.
He nearly peed on his trouser.
Hy het byna in sy broek
Urinate.
geurineer, het byna in sy broek geurineer as gevolg van daardie hou, het hy byna in sy broek vir hom nat gemaak.
You don't even remember this part.
Jy onthou nie eers daardie gedeelte nie.
Dit het nooit gebeur nie eerlik.
It never happened, my lord.
My client instructs me that
My kliënt sê vir my,
you took him to relieve himself in the bathrooms.
het vir hom na die badkamer toe geneem ten einde vir hom te verlig.
Weereens eerlik, dit het nie gebeur nie.
Once again, my lord, it did not happen.
Ek weet nie as hy badkamer toe gaan het wie hom badkamer toe gevat het nie.
In case he went to the bathroom, I do not know who would have taken him to the bathroom, my lord.
Soos ek sê, ek het hom nie badkamer toe gevat nie.
As I testified, I am not the one who took him to the bathroom, my lord.
But he knows it was you.
Toch weet hy dat u die een is.
En weer eens sê ek by die hof dat ek hom nie badkamer toe gevat het nie, eerlik.
Once again, I'm saying to the court, I did not take him to the bathroom, my lord.
Are you suggesting that he's fabricating all this piece of evidence?
Suggereer u dat hy suig nou hierdie stuk getuienis uit sy duim uit?
Dis al logical rede wat daar is, eerlik.
That's the only logical reason that is there, my lord.
Why would he do that?
Hoekom sal hy dit fabriseer?
Eerlik, die beskuldigde staan 'n maksimum vonnis in die gesig indien hy skuldig kom, eerlik.
My lord is accused of facing a life sentence. Should they be convicted, my lord?
So you are saying that these instructions are just desperation?
Suggereer u dat hierdie instruksies is blote desperasie?
Hy het sy redes hoekom hy dit doen, eerlik.
Verleendheid? He's got his reasons, my lord.
I don't want to take you back to the question that I asked you, which you didn't answer.
Ek wil nie vir u terugneem na die vraag wat u vroeër gevra het waarop u nie geantwoord het nie.
I will leave this here. We are in a trial within a trial. I will
Ek
leave
laat dit daar, maar ons is besig met die verhoor, binne verhoor.
From the bedroom,
Vanaf die badkamer
he was still insisting
het hy nog steeds daarop aangedring
on his innocence.
op sy onskuld.
Did you believe him
Het hy vir hom geglo
when he was telling you that he doesn't have anything to do with the disappearance of Joshlin?
toe hy sê hy het geen deelname aan Joshlin se verdwyning?
Eerlik, soos ek sê,
My lord, as I said,
die beskuldigde het aan die begin vir my gesê dat hy dra nie kennis van die verdwyning nie.
initially the accused informed me that he's not aware of the disappearance.
Hy het later gesê vir Kelly,
He later on said, ask Kelly,
en dan het hy later ook gesê daar's 'n vrou met die naam van Makalima.
and then he later on made mention of the lady by the name Makalima.
So ek weet nie wanneer hy badkamer toe gevat het tussen die gedeeltes, eerlik.
Therefore, I do not know as to at what stage
Indien hy badkamer toe gevat
was
was.
he taken to the bathroom. In case he was ever taken to the bathroom, I do not know when, at what stage was he taken to the bathroom between these two versions, my lord.
My client never gave you two versions.
My cliënt het nooit vir u twee weergawe gegee nie.
My client's version is one.
My cliënt se weergawe was een
Since the 29th of February 2024.
vanaf die 29 Februarie 2024.
Which two versions are you talking about?
Ek praat nou van twee weergawes, waarna verwys u wanneer ek praat van twee weergawes?
Eerlik, het hy gepraat van twee weergawe nie.
My lord, I did not mention two versions.
Maybe that was an interpretation. Can the court help me?
Dalk is dit die tolk.
The interpreter used the three versions, or two versions. The witness testified that initially he said he had no knowledge. Later on, he said, ask Kelly. And then later on mentioned the person by the name of Makalima. So if I would have summarized that, I would not have used two, but rather three. But Mr. Yankees interpreted and counted the numbers.
Okay.
And that's where the confusion came.
Thank you, my lord.
Dankie, edele.
Although I still have to cross-examine you regarding what you are alleging that my client has said to you.
Alhoewel ek nog vir u moet kry so 'n vraag.
But I want,
Rakende dit wat u beweer
But
my
now-
cliënt aan u so oorgedra het, maar nou,
but now that you've mentioned this now,
nou dat u maak nog melding daarvan, nou,
the information about Kelly,
die inligting rondom Kelly,
the information about Makalima,
die inligting rondom Makalima,
my client
my cliënt,
is not an author of that information.
hy is die outeur van daardie inligting.
That is the police story that was prescribed to
Dit
my
is die
client.
polisie se weergawe wat aan hom voorgeskryf is.
Any comment to this?
Wat is die kommentaar daarop?
Edele, as ons informasie gehad het van Makalima voor die onderhoude,
Malo, in case we had the information about Makalima before the interviews,
sou ons eers daaraan toe gegaan het,
we would have proceeded by the Malod
voor ons met die onderhoude begin het,
before we commence with the interviews,
dieselfde soos ons met Owen gemaak het, edele.
the same as we did with Owen Malod.
Ons het na Makalima toe gegaan,
We proceeded to Makalima Malod
na ons informasie van beskuldigde 1 afgekry het.
after we
Kies toch 2.
gained that information from accused number 2 Malod.
Do you dispute
Betwist u
the fact that
the fact that
my client is not the author of the evidence,
my cliënt is nie die outeur van daardie getuienis nie,
making reference to Kelly and or Makalima?
verwysende na Kelly en Makalima.
Ek dispute die edele.
Ek betwist dit die edele. I do not dispute it, my lord.
Okay.
No.
Ek betwist dit. Oh, I do. I dispute it, my lord. Sorry.
Were you in the interviewing rooms all the time?
Was ek deurentyd in hierdie onderhoudskamers?
Edele, ek was tussen die 2 onderhoudskamers, edele.
My lord, I was between the 2 interview rooms, my lord.
That was not my question.
Dit is nie my vraag nie, Susan.
Were you in the room? Were you in the interview room of Stevino at all material times?
Was u in die kamer waarin onderhoud met Stefano gevoergewees het op alle wesenlijke tye?
Edele, dit is vanselfsprekend,
My lord, it is obvious
dat as ek na die 1 kamer met beskuldigde 1 beweeg het,
when I moved with the room where accused number 1 was kept,
was ek nie in die kantoor met beskuldigde 2 nie, edele.
I would have been in a room where accused number 2 was held, my lord.
So you were not at my client's interview room all the time.
So it was die deurentyd in die vertrek waar hy onderhoud met my kliënt gevoer gewees het.
Korrek, edele.
Correct, my lord.
So you cannot
Op ten alle
dispute.
tye.
So you cannot dispute that
Daarvoor, ek kan dit nie betwist nie.
the police officers prescribed to my client, told my client
Dat die polisiebeamptes aan my kliënt voorgeskryf het en vir hom aangesê het
that you must say
wat hy moet sê,
Kelly told Buddha to take Joshlin to Makalima.
Kelly het vir Boeta gesê om Kelly het vir Boeta gesê om Joshlin na Makalima toe te neem.
To put cherry on top. They even said, we had this information, we got this information that Kelly told Buddha to take Joshlin to Makalima.
Om dit te kwalifiseer, hulle het selfs gesê dat hulle beskik oor die inligting dat Kelly vir Boeta gesê het om Joshlin na Makalima toe te neem.
Edele, as hy so voorgesê was deur polisiebeamptes,
My lord, in case he was prescribed by the police as such, my lord,
terwyl ek nie daar was nie,
whilst I was not there, my lord,
moes hy dit vir my vertel het, edele.
he should have inform me about it, my lord.
En hy het nooit vir my gesê
He never told me, my lord,
dat Joshlin was na Makalima toe gevat gewees nie, edele.
that Joshlin had to be taken to Makalima, my lord, or Joshlin was taken to Makalima, my lord.
So dit is moontlik
Therefore, it is possible
dat dit gesê gewees het,
that it was said,
maar baie unlikely, edele.
toch heel onwaarschijnlijk, my lord.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Seeing that it was very late in the evening,
Sien dat het was baie laat die aand.
why you didn't release my client and tell him to come the following day? Why did you continue with the interviews the whole night and the morning?
Hoekom het jy nie vir hom vrygelaat nie? Of hoekom het jy nie vir hom laat huis toe gaan nie? En vir hom dan aansê om terug te keer daarop volgende dag. Hoekom het jy nou aangehou met hierdie onderhoude?
Edele, dit is 'n ongoing investigation.
Edel, het was 'n aangaande ondersoek.
Die onderhoude was nie permanent gestop nie.
The interviews were not stopped permanently, my lord.
Ons was besig om nog inligting op te volg, edele.
We were busy following up on information, my lord.
En soos ek reeds getuig het, ons het 'n 6-jarige kind wat vir 2 weke vermis is, edele.
As I already testified, we dealing with the missing of a 6-year-old child who was missing already for 2 weeks by then.
So tyd was vir ons baie belangrik, edele.
Therefore, time was very important for us.
But you've already interviewed him.
Toch het al reeds onderhoud met hom gevoer.
He's insisting on his innocence,
Hy dring daarop aan op sy onskuld.
and you don't have any evidence to contradict his
U
innocence.
beskik nie oor enige inligting ten einde sy onskuld verkeerd te bewys.
Edele, die feit dat daar verskille is tussen beskuldigde 1, 2 en 3 se verklaringe
My lord, the fact that there was differences between accused number 1, 2 and 3 statements,
en die feit dat hulle vir ons gesê het ons moet vir Kelly vra en na Makalima toe gaan, edele.
and the fact that they asked us to ask Kelly as well as to proceed to Makalima, my lord,
Dit het vir ons rede gegee dat daar meer is wat hulle nie vir ons vertel nie, edele.
that gives us a reason that there was more to it. That was more, they were not forthcoming with, my lord, or they were not informing us.
You just told the court that it's possible
It's so pas vir hof gesê dit is moontlik
that the part about Kelly and Makalima should have been prescribed to my client. Why did you keep him? If you have foreseen that possibility.
deur Makal. Die moontlikheid bestaan dat hy was voorgesê.
No. He didn't refer to the possibility then. You've put the proposition to him and he answered. If the accused was so prescribed when he was not there, the accused should have told him. Of course, this is now here at the trial when it's raised. It wasn't raised then. Then he added in, because the proposition is that he was prescribed to say that Kelly told Buddha, this was the question, to take Joshlin to Makalima. Then he added on, he said, he never told him, this is now accused number 2, his words were, he never told me Joshlin was taken to Makalima. The context of the answer is, if he was so prescribed, he never told me that. And then he added on, maybe possible, but it's highly unlikely in the context of being prescribed, having answered the way he did. Because the way I understood the answer was, if he was then so prescribed, then he would have told the witness that Kelly told Buddha to take Joshlin to Makalima. If the other people, remember when he left the room, that was the context. Accused number 2 was with the other officers, and you put it to him that they told him all these things, and that's the way he answered. He doesn't say that on the evening he found being prescribed to be unlikely. That's how I have it.
My Lord, can the court assist with the last sentence of that answer?
The answer was
it is possible.
He never told me Joshlin was taken to Makalima. That's in answer to your question. Then he say, it's possible but highly unlikely.
It is possible.
It's possible but highly unlikely. In the context of the question as put to him, as he explained, and the basis for the explanation was, if he was then so told to tell me, he didn't tell me.
Who didn't tell him? My client or his colleagues?
The accused didn't tell him. Remember, I'm going to repeat. The question was that he was not in the room all the time. So you said to him, so you cannot dispute that the police officers pressurized and told him to say Buddha, and told him to say that Buddha took, that Kelly told Buddha to take Joshlin to Makalima. And you added on to say that these officers also told him that they have that information, to which the witness answered. Said, if he was so pressurized, then the accused did not tell him this is what the witness says.
Oh, okay.
And he never told the witness the content about Joshlin being taken to Makalima, and he commented on that in the context of that.
Okay.
It might be possible that they would have told him something in his absence, but it's highly unlikely given what he said above. I have the verbatim questions and answers, but that's how I understood the evidence.
And you are saying, thank you, my Lord, and you are saying that my client didn't tell you that?
En u sê verhof dat my kliënt het vir dit gesê nie.
The part about Kelly and Makalima was prescribed to him.
Die gedeelte Kelly Makalima is aan hom voorgesê nie.
I want to be clear.
Ek wil duidelikheid hê.
Edele as was verdediging bedoel dat of die beskuldigde vir my gesê het,
My Lord, does the defense wants to know whether or not the accused informed me?
Yes.
Ja.
dat hy voorgesê was, dan is die antwoord nee, edele.
That he was prescribed.
Yes.
Then my answer to that is no.
Does it make sense to you?
Maak dit sin by u?
If my mother is beating me,
My ma slaan vir my.
I go and report to the same mother who's beating me.
Ek gaan terug en 'n verslag maak aan dieselfde moeder wat my pak gee.
If it makes sense to you, it's fine. What is your comment on
En
this?
indien dit by u sinvol is, wat is die kommentaar daarop?
Eerlik bestaan nie die konteks van die vraag nie, edele. Of het 'n alleenstaande stelling is of
My Lord, I do not understand the context of this statement. Is it now a standalone?
It's a follow-up. You said my client didn't tell you that the police officers have prescribed to him the part about Kelly and the part about Makalima.
Dit is die getuienis dat my kliënt het vir u gesê nie oor hierdie Makalima Kelly gedeelte verwittig nie.
Let's go back.
Kom ons keer terug.
My client instructs me that
My kliënt sê vir my,
you are the one. You are the one
u is dan die een,
who You are the one that took him to this office where he was assaulted.
Is dat nie een wat hom geneem het na die einste kantoor waar die marteling plaasgevind het?
He has
Of waar hy
already-
geslaap gewees het?
He has already lost faith in you. How do you
Teen
expect
daai
him now to come and report some things to you?
Teen daai tyd het hy al geloof aan u verloor. Hoe verwag u dat nou hy gaan nou dan vir u so verslag oordra, sodanige rapport nie oordra, want hy glo nie meer vir u. Teen daai tyd glo hy glad nie meer vir u nie.
Edele,
Maar Lord,
sies nou. Die beskuldigde is nooit in my teenwoordigheid aangerand nie.
the accused was never assaulted whilst I was present, my Lord.
Daar was ook geen tekens van hom wat aangerand was terwyl ek in die ander kantoor was en teruggekom het nie.
Neither were there any signs that he was assaulted whilst I was in another office, my Lord.
So ek verstaan nie hoekom hy sê dat hy vertrou my nie, edele.
Therefore, I do not understand the mistrust in me, my Lord.
Now we're going back now to the office
Ons keer terug, weer eens keer ons terug na die kantoor toe,
where you took him in.
waarna u vir hom geneem het, waarna toe u vir hom geneem het.
Now you are coming from the bedroom with him.
Ek kom nou van die badkamer af met hom,
He instructs me.
hy sê vir my,
I pleaded with the police.
ek het met die beampte gepleit,
I begged him.
ek het vir hom gesmeek,
I am innocent.
ek is onskuldig,
I have no knowledge of what happened to Joshlin.
ek dra geen kennis van wat met Joshlin so gebeur het nie.
And your answer was, I'm
En die
sorry.
antwoord daarop was
Sorry,
soos volg.
Sergeant. Your answer was,
Die antwoord daarop,
your time is over.
die tyd is verby,
Now I'm going to take you to the other office.
nou neem ek vir u na die ander kantoor toe,
In that office, I promise you,
en
you will
daardie
speak.
kantoor, en daardie kantoor beloof ek u sal praat.
What is your comment on that?
Wat is die kommentaar daarop?
Dit het nog nooit gebeur hier, edele.
That it never happened, my Lord.
I'll take you 2 steps back,
Ek
Sergeant.
neem 2 tree terug, sergeant.
Before you took him out to
Oh,
relieve
from-
himself in the bedroom, amongst the police officers, there was the one police officer while they were assaulting him who made fun of my client's mother's funeral.
Of what? I didn't get the last part. Made
Funeral.
fun of the mother's funeral.
Yes.
Dis wat was die bathroom?
Before Sergeant Fortuin
Voor
took my client to the bedroom,
sergeant Fortuin voor u vir hom badkamer toe gaan neem het.
amongst the police officers who were assaulting him,
Tussen die beamptes wat vir hom aangerand het,
there is this one police officer
en besonder 'n beampte
who made fun of the funeral of my client's mother.
van sy moeder, my kliënt se moeder se begrafnis, 'n bespotting van sy moeder se begrafnis gemaak het. Een beampte
Even this part of evidence you didn't hear?
het nie hierdie gedeelte van die getuienis gehoor nie. Selfs hierdie gedeelte van sy getuienis het hy nie gehoor nie. Die bespotting van sy moeder se begrafnis.
Edele, dat nooit sulke goed gebeur terwyl ek daar was nie, edele.
My Lord, no such ever happened whilst I was present there, my Lord.
This police officer,
Hierdie beampte
he said to my client,
sê vir my kliënt,
I am going to take flowers to your mother's grave because you were not present when your mother was buried.
ek neem blomme na u ma se graf toe, want u was nie teenwoordig die tyd toe u ma begrawe is. Tydens die moeder se te aarde bestelling was u nie teenwoordig. Derhalwe neem ek blomme na u moeder se graf toe
Ek het niks van dit gesien of gehoor nie, Edele.
No such had I ever seen, my lord. Neither did I hear that, my lord.
This broke my client's heart because indeed he was not present when his
Inderdaad.
mother was buried.
Inderdaad was hy nie teenwoordig tydens die moeder se begrafnis nie, en dit het sy hart gebreek.
Any comment to this?
Wat is die kommentaar daarop, Susan?
Soos ek weer sê, Edele, ek dra geen kennis van dit nie, Edele.
Once again, my lord, I bear no knowledge of such, my lord.
Maybe it was said by the time you were in the office of accused wife.
Dalk kon dit gesê gewees het onderwyl in die kantoor waar nommer 1 aangehou gewees het.
Edele, ek dra nie kennis van die toilettoeneem van beskuldigde 2 nie.
My lord, I bear no knowledge of the taking of accused number 2 to the toilet.
Maar die verdediging het gesê dat dit het gebeur net voor ek vir hom toilet toegevat het.
But the defense said that that happened just before I took him to the bathroom, my lord.
En nou sê die verdediging weer, ek kon miskien in die ander kantoor gewees het, Edele.
Now the defense is saying that I could have been in another office, my lord.
So, ek verstaan hom nie, Edele.
Therefore, I do not understand, my lord.